What I hope to dialogue about today with Heart and Light
Mm,
Living is really how to stay authentically human in the communication breakdown that's occurred between men and women.
mm,
And I had heard an interview that you had done back in October of 2025,
mm,
and it was really, it was so beautiful because there's this dance, I think, that we've done generationally with inflammation. Like we've pissed off the generations, the races, the
mm.
genders, like just divide, divide, divide.
Yeah.
And that's a whole agenda right then,
Mm,
in and of itself. But I think that what we want to do is stay coherent in the embodiment
mm,
that we've kind of chosen and who it is that we are as men and women, I think is a beautiful thing. So, just a smidge of background before we dive in. I was raised by a dad,
mm.
so as a woman, to be the age that I am and raised by a dad is an unusual experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, it's one of my biggest blessings in my life because
Mm,
I learned how to travel
mm,
without fear
mm,
because he taught me how to carry myself no matter my size or, taught me how to walk,
mm,
like where you're going, even if you don't, you're never lost. There's always north, south, west, east, just act crazier than,
mm,
the person that might be approaching you if you have no weapon on you,
mhm,
just really great advice that over my decades, I've realized women that were raised by men and women didn't receive, especially my female, counterparts. And so I feel very blessed. So for me, as a woman, I've been always with the divine masculine. And I have brothers, and I have a cousin that was raised like a brother. I'm a mom of a son.
mm,
Um, and I've observed though for 30 years because, my son just turned 28 and I moved him out of a Montessori school
mm,
into a very fraternal private school at a pivotal time in his life. So
mm,
it's probably about 10 at the time. So this is a 20-year, I observed it,
mm,
that boys somehow couldn't throw rocks.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Like what?
Yeah.
What? Like I raised like a hockey player, like a defenseman,
Mm,
nonetheless, um, who loves trees and loves women and loves hockey and loves learning and is thankful that he didn't become addicted to screens. He uses them
mm,
purposely, but like he seems to be, thank God, in a generation as a Gen Zer that's emerging differently
mm,
without some of the wounds that we have as Gen
mm,
Xers, let alone boomer.
mm,
So I was hoping to dive in as to how we can stay authentically masculine and feminine when we've had these communication breakdowns.
mm,
Because you're like so gifted in the space with men from to what it, for me, I don't even, I mean, I know what toxic masculinity is for me as a Gen Xer. It's somebody pinching my ass
mm,
in a setting of a university that had no business having their hands on me. Like, I'm clear about that. And I'm clear about boundaries with my body and men. But I think what's gone so freaking askew is the relational communication aspects.
mm,
And that we're not just here to serve each other, we're here to serve ourselves
mhm.
first and foremost authentically as who we embodied as. And then I think the fun can begin.
What aspect would you like me to speak on? There was a
I
lot.
think it's a whole lot. I think that first I'd like to ask you what's lighting your heart up right now as man in the world.
One, I'm getting ready to go to, I leave the country every year for a couple months and I go to Costa Rica to surf and I get back in the wild.
Yes.
I live in Boulder, Colorado, which is beautiful and very domesticated.
Yeah.
And I need to go somewhere where the jungle is trying to eat me, where the land is trying to kill me, where the waves are trying to drown me,
Yeah.
and go, yeah, let's get it on.
Yeah.
And that, as a man and a human and a soul, all inspires me to no end because it's real
It's beautiful.
and it's
It's real.
raw, right? It's raw,
Yes.
real, and it's relational. It's all three at the same time. And we can
Mhm.
speak to what have we lost culturally, societally between men and women or any humans. But if we want to speak heteronormatively to that dynamic,
Yeah.
it's those same three words. We're not raw with each other. We're not honest. We're not real. And we have very little concept of being relational. What we saw in our generation as relational was often just quite transactional. Now,
Mm.
there was, though, an element of devotion, I think, underneath that has gotten lost. And of
Mhm.
course, what we see and what we read and what we hear on social media are the outlier cases where it wasn't the case, where so and so left his pregnant wife and went and married the 19-year-old admin, and so left her husband when he lost his job and married the Porsche dealer. Like all of these tropes of men and women not knowing how to devote themselves to relationship. Excuse me. I think that wounding carried into a generation that went, I'm not going to devote myself to anyone, and I'm not going to devote myself to anything.
Mhm.
I've watched the structures of religion and society and schooling and nutrition and whatever we want to, every single system fall apart. So I'll devote myself to nothing except myself. And that's really hard relationally. Now I understand why our generation, the pendulum had to swing back a little bit towards the middle to say, if I don't know who I am and what I want as a man, how can I be in relationship with anybody, let alone a woman? And if I'm and willing and or unable to not give myself away completely, leave my body, leave myself, leave my values to be in relationship, to lose myself in relationship, if I'm willing to lose myself in relationship or unable to not lose myself in relationship, which a lot of both sides of the coin are, we're going to have real problems. We have people who get married and then say, "Oh, I've lost myself." And instead of being able to find themselves in the relationship, have to leave the relationship, have to leave the marriage, have to end the family. And that's both genders, right? We don't know
Absolutely.
how to relate to each other in a non-transactional format anymore. And social media is perpetuating that. Media is perpetuating that. And I think most people need to put their phones down, get off social media, and go sit with an actual human and say, how do I relate to you as a man? How do I relate to you as a human? How do I relate to you as a woman? That depth of being is inaccessible for a lot of people. When I have fallen deeply in love with partners, it wasn't their height, their cup size, their bank account, their waist size, their body fat, their hair length. It was, oh, there's something in this person's soul that's grabbing me and making me want to orient my life into partnership with them and allow that partnership to orient my life somewhere that it probably wouldn't have gone without them. But that takes some ability to get to depth, to feel depth, to honor depth, and to actually give a shit about depth.
Yes.
Right? I don't want a business transaction with my partner. I don't want to have that kind of relationship of like, you do this for me, I do this for you, high five, we're going to get along. Where do our souls dance in that construct? They don't. So I feel like we're very, very angry, Michelle. We're
Yeah.
very, very wounded, both sides of the coin, both men and women. And we've developed our camps and we have all kinds of information and media supporting and forming and solidifying our camps that, my side says it's your fault, your side says it's my fault. And there's real fault. There's real blame, there's real hurt that's been done. Men have hurt women. Women have hurt men, now in very different ways. but yet tell someone who's wounded that their wound isn't the same as somebody else's wound, so it doesn't matter. And you'll just solidify them further and further into their camp.
That's right.
Now you get them with a whole bunch of other people in the same camp and they live in a silo, and whew, the attacks just fly. I watch this every single day as someone who's prominent on social media.
Hmm.
I will get attacked by men for asking men to hold a higher bar. I will get attacked by women for helping men. This is wait, what? But this is very confusing to me.
That's right. That's right.
And I will watch women attack women for supporting men. I will watch men attack men for supporting women. And on some level, just go like, okay, everybody hates everybody. Got it. We're back. It's like we're little third graders in the sandbox and everybody's got their poopy pants on.
Hmm.
And we can all take a breath and maybe start thinking of a different way of relating.
Absolutely. And I think that, you said so many profound things that just are beautiful insights. But one of them, just that really piqued, reflection is getting out amongst humans because I wonder how much, Traver, of that conversation is just bots also trying to drive traffic. I just
Sure.
remind sweet listeners of that out there that, humans are, sometimes very literal, and we think that there's a person on the other side of that handle. And, I just try to mirror and match it in terms of my experience out in the world. Now, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, tends to be a more genteel part of the world. People are very polite, but,
Mm,
I travel extensively and I spend a lot of time in New York. I spend a lot of time in the West Coast, also in Costa Rica.
mm.
And one of the interesting things is that wherever I go, it seems like the people that I meet are as lovely. Like,
I'm with you. Right. I think
like
people are amazing. I love people,
people are
just
incredible.
not on
And
social media.
right. And I feel like either we have to create like kind of walled communities to keep the bots out and let the real humans in. Like that will evolve. I mean, it just
Yeah.
it's going to. It already is. But how much of that is real? But the wounding, and I think
Mm,
the vibe, the coherence, the frequency, or the incoherence of the communication is what's felt and is lasting. Perception is reality. Whether it's a
mhm.
bot saying it or not, you consume that vibe.
Right, right, right.
And the dissonance that has literally created relationally. And I'll just speak to, with the Me Too movement, because that was kind of your jump off point for the
Yeah.
uncivilized man
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
because there's no action plan.
Hmm.
And for me as a woman, I thought to myself, okay, so we're going to acknowledge that there has been some really significant breakdown
Hmm.
beyond just communication, like boundaries, physicality, like, here we go.
Yeah.
And yet there was the elucidation of the patterns, the problems without the
Mm.
solutions.
Right, 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 right.
That's where I believe that Gen X literally like bridging
Mm.
between boomers
Hmm.
and millennials because you're watching with Uncivilized Man Traver, like you're seeing these millennial men, you're seeing these Gen Z men, as am I
Hmm.
in what I do, right? With people with their higher self work and coming to have like core work done in their embodiment to get to know like their colon and their digestive
Mm.
tract because they realize, oh my God, like my body is really important to me and
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
breaking down at an earlier age. Like we're seeing these amazing humans.
Mm.
And what I'm curious is what shifted. Like even in, it's like I always say, you have to find the happy in the hard.
Mm.
Even in what sucks. Like COVID sucked.
Hmm.
I have my own opinions about a pandemic. I just invite people to just form your own opinions, but there was a real intention to harm
Hmm.
relationally everybody. And now we're still putting our action plans back together of how do we get together
Hmm.
and rebuild communities.
Yeah.
And the uncivilized man put an action plan together for men. And I'd like, because so many of our listeners are women, for
Hmm.
them to hear about this action plan, to know about these men that are out there, and for men that are evolved men, that are looking for a relationship from a man.
I want to share with you a quick story to highlight some of the generational differences. This was maybe 2 years ago, Michelle. This literally stopped me in my tracks, and I went, "Okay, I grew up in a very different world." And I want to say I grew up with a feminist mother and two feminist older sisters. So I was already on the be overly polite, nice guy, you're probably wrong side. And yet, 2 years ago, I had a young man call me. He was 25 years old. He had taken the time to go to my website, fill out a form, and do a quick, like, hey, let's hop on a call and see if we want to work together thing. I get on the call with him and say, brother, how can I help you? He says, I have an issue. I was like, cool. Most people who call me do. Whatever it is, I've heard it before. What do you got? And he says, I'm attracted to a woman at work. And I went, okay, amazing. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Number one, is she over 18? He was like, oh, yeah, she's 27, 2 years older than me. Like, beautiful. Is there some kind of hierarchy difference? Does she work for you? She work under you? Is like, nope, 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 different department, whole different thing. Beautiful. Okay, be honest with me. Does she have pictures of any of your body parts sent by company email, text, or WhatsApp? He was like, no, 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 no. Trust me, no, no, no. I went, amazing. What can I do for you? I said, I told you I'm attracted to a woman at work. Then he said this sentence: I don't want to be a toxic male. And I went, oh my God. You literally think being attracted to someone at work is a problem, right? Again, I'm 50 years old. I said to him, literally, I literally exist on this earth, as do my two older sisters, because 50 some odd years ago, a man was attracted to a girl at work.
Yeah,
And that's how a lot of us, why a
that
lot of us,
works a lot
yeah,
of
a lot of us
time.
exist. Uh,
Bless him.
yeah, and that was really his desire, Michelle, was help me get rid of the desire I have for a woman, because
God.
simply the desire alone is toxic. Now, this is why I hammer on the idea of toxic masculinity, or just the messaging that I, as someone with a master's degree and three written books, can tease out the nuance of. But there was an entire generation of young men who grew up hearing and feeling anything, quote, masculine was bad. Anything masculine was shameful. Anything masculine was toxic. Now, I hold men to a brutally high standard. So I'm not going to forgive or excuse shitty behavior. Like, go to therapy. Are we allowed to swear?
Yes.
Unfuck yourself, figure yourself out, stop doing it, get sober, clean your life up, have some damn
Yes.
integrity, stop touching people that don't want to be touched. Don't you dare violate anybody ever, period. That's the standard.
Yeah.
And your desire isn't a problem. Your desire is natural. What you do with it has to be skillful. It's not willing to be skillful. You got to go learn the skill, or you have to have the skill modeled. So, to circle back to what you were saying around Me Too, I was hugely celebratory about Me Too. Like, beautiful. Let it all come out.
Yeah.
Every single shitbag out there, every single one
Yep.
of you, and every single guy that's put a woman in this position, anytime, I don't care what station you're at, I hope it gets public. And I hope you look at that behavior and go, I want nothing to do with that. I need to live a clean life, an integral life, and a relational life with the other half of the planet. So beautiful. But like as you said, there was no, and this is how you do it.
Yes.
It was, don't be a rapist. And I remember writing a whole piece saying, telling non-rapists to not be rapists is missing out on a huge opportunity. Because if I read an article that says, don't be a rapist, I'm like, I'm not. And I go about my day. What you could have said is, and by the way, you can be a protector, you can be a model, you can be a role model, you can lead younger men, you can teach them, you can be in the lighthouse position for them. Now, how do we take an entire swath of humans, male humans, and say we have to unpattern you from what you've been taught? We have to teach you how to have consent. We have to have a consent conversation. We have to learn about consent. None of us was. I now am in the heavily involved in the BDSM and rope community and have had a, I've said this story a million times. I had a 90-minute consent conversation with someone I was not going to have any sexual access to, but was just going to tie up. 90 minutes just to tie her. And I said to her, I didn't have a 90-minute consent conversation with my ex wife in our entire marriage because no one had sat me down and said, do you know these are the elements you can go through? Do you know what this all means? Do you know what relationality is? So the process, since you asked, like, what is the process of getting men to come to
Yeah.
consciousness, is first to get them around other conscious men. Step one, we learn by modeling. We learn by watching. So if our male examples are shitbags in politics, sports, business, and whatever, and the church, that's what we will become. So if we get around guys who are willing to say, hey, by the way, this weekend, I kind of fucked up. I was looking at porn. I don't want to be. I have a deal with my wife that we don't do that. You guys, what can I do? And the other guys go, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. We see you. We get it. We understand. And now it's time to go have a hard conversation with your spouse. By the way, we'll be here to support you. We love you. We care about you. Now go be a better man. That's very different than I can't really tell anybody this, so I'm just going to keep suppressing it, pretending it's not happening, and watching it come out sideways where I get more and more into this addiction, have to hide it. Then there's shame around it, so I need even more of it. And now I'm actually acting out in a way that is quite toxic and is quite damaging and isn't perhaps as quote innocent as it started out to be. That's how we first help men. We have to show them a better way. And so when I first started running men's groups, it was mind boggling to watch men come in and say, I don't have anything going on. I'm great. Nothing's going on in my world. Everything's peachy keen. And then watching the man across with them say, my world is not okay. I'm getting divorced. I don't know if my business is going to hold up. I got a sick kid and I'm a damn mess and I don't know what to do. And that man may break down, he may start crying, he may have emotions, he may not know what to do with himself. And then to have the guy who said nothing's wrong watch as the other men say, "Brother, we're here for you. Thank you for sharing that." Man, I get that. I've been where you are. I was there 3 weeks ago. Trust me, you'll get through it. But by the way, thank you for sharing. And you see the guy who had nothing wrong, his eyes get all scrambled because he's like, wait a minute. I thought the male rule was that we never had anything wrong. And if we did, we were weak, we were pussies,
Yeah. Yeah.
something was wrong with us. And you guys just celebrated this guy for admitting the truth. Then now his whole life is going to get jostled. And what will happen 2 weeks from now, he'll come in and say, actually, guys, I'm not anywhere close to okay. But I didn't think I was allowed to say that. I didn't think I had permission to say that. I thought I would get kicked out of the tribe. I would get ostracized. I would get abandoned. I would get shamed. And so we have to teach men relationality in a container with other relational men. That's step one, right? Then step two, and a lot of people don't like this one, is a lot of guys need professional help. A lot of guys actually do need to benefit from therapy. Now, the therapist has to be willing and able to work with men in a way that men can handle, which isn't very many. So it's a tough call there, but they're brilliant therapists and they're therapists that shouldn't work for men or work with men. And then 3 and 4, this guy needs to figure out who he is and what he's about and what he wants, Michelle, outside of relationship. So that the relationship isn't bearing the weight of his entire being and soul. And his partner isn't like, wait a minute, I thought I married a complete human. I've married a child who wants me to take care of him and hold him and like live his life for him. And he doesn't have any way of existing without me. That's a lot of weight to put on someone. And then it would be a huge disservice not to mention it, even though it's controversial. Men need to understand their and learn about their sex drive and know how to skillfully express it. What are your desires? Can you say them without shame? Do you know your sexual shame? Are you willing to speak to the person across from you and say, I think I'm really curious about this. I'd like this. This is what I want to do. Do they have any sexual fluency? Now, if you take that package and give it to a man and say, for the next 2 years, this is your path, you're walking this path, I guarantee you that will be a radically, radically different man than the man who walked in
Yeah.
at the start. And I
Yeah.
know this because I've led co-ed workshops, and this is one of my favorite experiences is to have women who haven't existed with men who've done the work encounter them. And at every single time we put this group together, I will have women stand up and say, I'm going to be honest with you. It's kind of freaking me out that these guys are so grounded. They're so calm. They speak fluently. I don't think they want anything from me. No one's done anything weird. It's actually kind of uncomfortable. It's lovely and wonderful. And but I don't know what to do with myself in the midst of a man who isn't squirrely and staring at me and wanting something from me and leaking sideways and sexually leaking all over me. So that's a bit of a rant, but that's some of what I do.
Oh, yeah. No, and that definitely, I mean, so many people, again, talk about the problems without having the concrete solutions. And I think that the communal solution is what's so beautiful for men. Women, I think, will gravitate in many ways naturally to a more communal experience. You could
Yeah.
talk about how we're raised, you could talk about how we're wired, you could talk about our hormones, we could talk about a lot of things. But the intentionality of men to recognize other men that have walked their path and actually have a cohesive, full life as a man has to be really fucking reassuring.
Hmm. It's
You
potent.
know,
It's potent.
it really is. And, you know, one of the intriguing things, and again, my dad had to kind of be, he couldn't be a mom. He could only be a dad.
Hmm.
Um, and just like, I believe that moms can really, at the end of the day, only be a mom. And
Hmm.
everything, that is attached to that and beautiful for
Hmm.
both mom and dad. And the masculine and the feminine within us is one thing. The balance and how that shifts over time within us is very, very intriguing. And in communities of men, I think women are just starting to dialogue about how we change over time
Hmm.
and how our communication with other women, with other men, with our children, how it changes over time. In terms of the evolution of the uncivilized man, do you do y'all have like a range now, Traver, of like we're dealing with boomers down to the
Hmm.
young man who sends you? Yeah.
Yeah. We have. elders. We have men in their 70s who
Yes.
are part of our organization. And I think there's two really important pieces to speak to here of the challenge of men in society is first and foremost, we are not initiated. We used to be initiated. We used to be taken specifically from the tribe, from the group, separated energetically and physically from whom? From the mother,
Mm,
taken out somewhere with the men,
yeah.
put through some kind of experience or trial that we had to survive and tested us and proved. I just got chills. Oof.
Yes.
Proved to us that we have been through a threshold.
Yeah.
We need this. We actually, as men, need this. And then on the other side of that threshold, we are taught this is your new role in society. This is your responsibility. This is what comes with having a body that is usually bigger, stronger, and faster than women's bodies. This is what it means to have desire. This is what it means to be a father. This is what it means to be a warrior. This is what your role is. We have an entire group of men who are just lost. We don't know what to do. They don't know what their role is. So they're
Mhm.
playing video games, jerking off to porn, and smoking dope in their parents' basements. They're like, I don't know. I'm 28. Like, what else am I supposed to be doing?
Mhm.
No one initiated them into adulthood.
Yeah, no, and they got locked down,
They
right?
got
In
locked
like,
down,
gosh almighty. I mean, they were like under house arrest.
truly under house arrest. And I will speak as a man to men. We engage with the physical world. That is what we do. We tussle with nature. We climb mountains. We jump out of airplanes. We get excited about the military to go see the world. And so, an entire generation that just, like, I knew a woman, met her a year ago who said, I had a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old when COVID hit. They both just came home one day and they never went back to school.
That's right.
And I was like, how are they doing? She's like, how do you think they're doing?
That's right.
They're hooked on everything I just listed on Instagram, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on porn, on video games, on weed, on vaping. Like they are just ingesting, and addicted to the digital world. And no one, someone needs to take those young men out, throw them in the woods, and be like, cool, here's a knife and a bear skin, and we're going to come get you in 3 days. And trust me, you're going to hate it, and you'll come out the other side different. So
Yes.
initiation, that's a missing piece, which is why we say so often how many grown men are just little boys in grown men's bodies. We don't say this about women very often. They're like, "Oh
Right.
my God, she's just a girl in a woman's body." But we say it's like in the culture about men because we're not initiated. Now, the other side of that coin, when do we really see suicide rates and mental health issues spike in men? Late 40s, early 50s, when they don't have a clear path to elderhood. We don't say, hey, by the way, you're about to turn 55. Awesome. We need you. We need all of your wisdom, all of your life experience. We're going to revere you. You're going to have a station here. Like the young men are desperate for the wisdom and knowledge that you have. And you're kind of going to be a rock star, but it'll be in a little bit of a different way than you wanted to be a rock star. Now, what have we just done? Given this man a place and a position in society of reverence. And what have we done for the younger men? Given them access to the wisdom and the knowledge that they crave, Michelle. Not like, oh, I can find it on ChatGPT,
No.
but the sir, you've been through 2 wars and 3 marriages. What do I do in this situation?
Yes.
I know men who, when they talk, I shut the fuck up and listen
Absolutely.
because they've been there. They're like, oh, you're challenging that you're turning 50. That's adorable. Let me pat you on the head. Come sit on my lap. Let me tell you about being 50. And I literally feel like a little kid, like, oh, thank you. You're not bestowing knowledge upon me. You're bestowing wisdom. That is such a nutrition that we're missing that I still crave as a 50-year-old, again, with a podcast and 3 books and a movement. And I still need that from the older guys,
Mhm.
right? When my father died 2 years ago,
I'm
who was
sorry.
I talking to? Thank you. Men in their 70s.
Yes.
Hey, what did you do? How did you get through the next year? How did you stay off the bottle? How did you not beat the shit out of people in parking lots when you were grieving? How did you do this? And thankfully, they were beautifully open and say, "Yeah, I remember the day. Come
And
walk with me."
gosh, yes. And I'm certain it was significant for you, Traver, because you're in a family of otherwise all women, and your dad was the only other male. I've had friends that have walked through that, clients that have walked through that. That is a significant shift.
Hmm.
I went through it at a very early age, losing a mom, and then only having, men around me. So, you have grandmothers and aunties, and you find the elders, but as an adult, there's a real, and then you're stepping into your elderhood.
Hmm.
How did you find your way during that, my friend? Like,
During the loss of my father,
yeah, like the 70-year-old men, like going to the elders that
going to
started.
the elders,
Mm-hmm.
having powerful men around me who would
Yeah.
just sit with me, would say, "We're here for you." This is when I went through my divorce in 2016. I had two of my best friends like, "I'll get on a plane tomorrow. You can call me 9 times a day if you need to." And I truly credit both of them with the reason why I'm sober. I've created what I've created. I don't hate women. I'm not on drugs. I'm not on porn. I'm they having that input of, guess what? We're here with you. And we're going to be here throughout the entire process. And we'll be here afterwards. And they're not in men's work, Michelle. They're just good, solid dudes that I
No, they're
happen to have
good
in my
dudes
corner.
that held
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. And so the same when, you know, when I lost my father, I had built an organization that had ushered how many men through the same thing. And then it was my turn to take the hat off of leadership and say, fellas, like, I'm a mess.
Yeah.
Who wants to go walk around the lake with me? Who
Yeah.
wants to talk with me? And those guys were there. And I will say at the time, I had an extraordinary partner who was willing again to just sit down and hold me. Not like, oh, you're the man. You should be doing all the holding. Like, no, you just lost your father.
Yes, right.
You're a human. Come lie in my arms and cry. You can
Yes.
go back to being the ass kicker in the family tomorrow. But
Hmm.
today, you're just going to be held and loved.
To just authentically get to be you, as raw and as open and just as vulnerable as you are, and not have to fulfill any role as anything other than a broken-hearted child
Hmm.
who lost their parent. It's just
Yeah.
that kind of, you were talking about transactional relationship versus true acceptance,
Yeah.
of the authenticity of who we are.
Yeah.
There's a real, it's interesting. I've had this aha just around my own communication within myself about certain beliefs that I hold about myself. And I was like, Michelle, believe this, believe that. What it is more about accepting and accepting authentically me as me,
Hmm.
and acceptance. That's a level of communication
Mm.
that, men and women are not known for,
Hmm.
especially since COVID,
Yeah, we've
especially.
really struggled. I think we've struggled to relate with each other. We've struggled to put our armor down.
We were told to shush about our opinions and what we thought about things and just do what we're told,
Or you'd get annihilated, canceled, you'd lose your job.
or
It
kill
was,
somebody because you
yeah,
didn't listen.
yeah,
And
it was a terrible, terrible time.
people became afraid to communicate. We still live in like the shell-shocked reverberations of it today.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're saying this. I've said it for years as well that we're not over COVID yet. It was suddenly like, oh, you can take your masks off, and everyone kind of was like, oh, good, we're back to normal. But we never got back to normal. And that
No.
shook the snow globe of so many people's psyches that didn't have the training, the foundation, or the community to have their psyche shaken. And then came out into, I remember the like 3 weeks later after, like, yay, everything's back to normal. I was like, oh, now we're at war with Ukraine. Wait. We started a war? Wait. We couldn't have like 22 days of just kind of being like, and by the way, we'll take this $1 trillion that we're going to spend on this, and everybody go to a spa for a week, or go lie in the grass, and we'll cover your rent, or here's some therapy, here's some great, just here's some joy. It was no, we're going to war, and then we went to war again, and then we went to war again, and then AI popped up, and it was, wait a minute, we're all going to lose our jobs, and Skynet's coming. Holy shit. And that's, I'm talking about our generation, which had decades under our belt of, I know what it's like to go outside. I know what it's like to have an hour-long conversation at a dinner table without my phone. I can use complete sentences and string them together in what's called paragraphs. I don't need to think in emojis. But there's a whole group of people under us that really is suffering because of the lack of ability to relate to another person,
Hmm.
which is our core drive as humans. We're relational beings.
Yes. I think that's the level of inflammation. I do a lot of work with people with their bodies, with their mind, with their spirit, but there's so much inflammation
Mm,
that has been created that I find generationally, we're kind of these new elders
mm,
that are showing folks, hey, you know what? And I never wanted to become who's lived through the most shit. Because that's just like a terribly low bar, to
yeah,
go
please don't do
from.
that. Yeah.
But like, like as a Gen Xer, though, there's been a lot of transitions, and
Mm,
that's what I say to folks because trauma, it doesn't matter if it's a capital T, if it's a little t, we get to define what that is for us. And I
sure.
personally think that the kids that didn't get kindergarten, the kids that didn't have graduation, the kids that didn't have peers had far worse trauma than we ever suffered
Mm,
in terms of like as a collective group.
yeah.
So the responsibility that I think that we have in the opportunity is they're kind of craving the human connection.
Mhm.
And that's to me the silver lining that, I call God universe service provider GUSP, whoever that is for you out
Mm,
there. That's always the beauty that God will make from our messes
mm,
in that craving for communication and giving models to men and to women and to begin to go back and look at what did indigenous communities do where there was initiation. And you know what? People kind of knew, okay, I this is like me as an individual stepping into a world
mm,
of my own that I'm going to be part of something. And I have like a role, like I'm a contributor
mhm, mhm, mhm.
because we have all these people behind these screens that are living these very passive contributions that feel, I mean, I understand why socialism is fucking attractive to them. Pardon me.
Yeah,
But it's like, yeah, man, if it's just going to be all transactional, well, shit, I'll just sit here and kick it
right.
and not go out and try to pound the pavements and be motivated. You guys want me here? So this is just this juncture, I think, of time where like artificial intelligence, digital consciousness, I don't like to call it AI because I
Mhm,
think that that's one path. I think
mhm,
acknowledging this digital consciousness that exists that we are now in tune with is another path, but the communication between men and women, men and men, women and women, there's still models that have lasted
mhm,
from the dawn of humanity
mhm,
that we have access
mhm,
to retrieve, I think, some of this very significant breakdown in our communication.
mhm.
There are things within us that we just know sitting down with people just feels good.
It's the best.
Truly.
It's the best. Yeah, I'm with you.
It just, and I've said to people that, I've been an urbanite for most of my life. Travel has been my exposure, you know, to nature. Like
Mm,
that's where, because when you live at a beach or you live at a lake, like you're just like, oh, I'm in nature. I don't have to
mm,
really try.
mhm,
COVID made, at least for me, it made me crave it.
mm,
It was my sanity. I went to Costa Rica. I was still in lockdown,
mhm,
still living that way. But at least I could go to the beach and surf. Like at least I could go and like be present in something that was bigger than me. I was in communication with other people that were still in the same trauma drama,
mm,
but it was not because of the age I was, my world didn't close. So
mhm,
I haven't met people that share this about, like, that feel this way about COVID. So I'm really thankful to have encountered you because I go back and remind parents that I'm speaking to about their 20 somethings
mm,
on down the road. Like, whoa, we have to give grace and direction because
yeah.
they don't know how to communicate in the same way that we do. They know how to communicate in other ways,
Mhm,
and they're useful and they're resourceful. And we want them to feel that as well. And it's just men and women, I think, breakdown gives us the opportunity to break through, Traver. Like, it's just as, I mean, right? The lotus grows out of like the actual just muck and yuck
mhm,
in the
mhm,
pond.
mhm.
And I think that as gross and as painful and as horrible, and we're still going through the Me Too movement in terms of the Epstein file, like it's
Yeah, yeah,
still
yeah, yeah. Still there.
in front of all of our faces. We
Mm,
have people saying, why is this happening this way in Europe and happening this way here in America? Right? Like it's still at the same time, though, and again, to our beautiful listeners, we have a choice. Like our freedom, our power, our liberty, is it's in how we respond to this
mm,
barrage of, I don't know. I think it's a bunch of hooey balooey in the Matrix, a lot of it.
mm,
And I don't mean to minimize it, but I do mean to minimize the energy that I will give it. Because people like you, the movement that you have created, the work that you've put into the world proves that there are more in the middle
mhm,
that really want to do better
mhm.
and be better
Yeah.
and figure things out. Because how did the words like greatness, like, how did those become like cuss words? Like, do you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Like there's an intention
yeah.
again behind diminishing the betterment of men and women and our relationships with ourselves, with each other. Even if you're two men raising a daughter, you are still going to have to, right? Like, I have a dad who is raising a daughter. He still had to be a man.
Mm,
And sometimes, in just being, that was all he could be. I figured out, okay, I've got to look and be initiated into a group of women. My grandmothers took me in, my aunties took me in. Like these are the things that people and these young people, I know millennial women, they say, Michelle, what's like a day in your life like? Because
mm,
you actually look like a functional Gen Xer who's not bitter, who's not pissed off, who actually still like loves and likes the company of men, like and values them. And that just gives me a lot of hope that, it's just we're progressing. It's not perfect. That's why I love the uncivilized.
mm. Yeah.
It's process.
Mhm.
And that's what your programs, that's what your books, I mean, yeah, Traver, we haven't even touched on 49 Days in Darkness. I would love to have more time with you at another time because the blueprint is what I find so fascinating and so
Mm,
accessible for the co-ed work that you do
mhm,
as well as the work with men.
mhm.
And so, if you could just share with our listeners the best way to get to you for
Mm,
work as a man, for the co ed work also,
sure.
please.
Yeah, for men, please go to manuncivilized.com. Manuncivilized.com. And if you haven't read that book, please get that book, Man Uncivilized. And then for women, you can go to traverboehm.com. That's where I do more of my co-ed work. I have a program called OLSLAI, OLSLAI, which stands for One Life, Soul Led, All In. And that's my co-ed program. And the two I have found to be quite potent, where I need guys to come in a little bit earlier and work through some of the basic stuff around their masculinity and who they want to be as men. And then they can graduate into OLSLAI and work in a co-ed program. And it really is about both of them, Michelle, are about coming back to basics, primary satisfactions. Like, are you okay alone? Are you okay in the company of a human? Do you know how to communicate? Can you name your feelings? Do you know what you want? Do you know what you want at depth? Can you listen to someone? Can you hear them after you've listened to them? Can you speak what's true? Can you hold what's true for them? These are the, this is primary stuff that a lot of us didn't get taught, at least in my generation, but is beyond valuable. So manuncivilized.com, traverboehm.com. You can find me on Instagram at Traver Boehm, TraverBoehm, or check out the Uncivilized podcast.
My gosh, I love this. Before you skedaddle, my friend, can we do a quick lightning round of questions with you?
Sure.
Because I have a feeling that you are just going to knock this out of the park.
Please.
And you can be as short as you want, as
Okay.
concise as you'd like, my friend. What is really breaking down between men and women right now beneath the surface, Traver?
Respect and reverence.
Yes. What pains men and women most misunderstands about each other today?
I don't think men understand what it's like to not feel safe physically. I don't think women understand that men often don't feel safe emotionally.
Yes. What happens to intimacy when a culture is overstimulated and underregulated?
It turns digital and transactional.
I told you to knock this out of the park. How can we tell the difference between a conversation that is truly unsafe and one that is simply uncomfortable but necessary for growth?
Hmm. Trust your gut, right?
Yes.
I know when I get uncomfortable, like, oh man, I don't want to, this is real. I'm having to look at stuff that's uncomfortable for me. And I know when someone's trying to violate my values. And if it's the second one, if it's the latter, I'm getting up and leaving. If it's the former, I'm just gonna take a bunch of deep breaths and be uncomfortable and sweaty.
Right on. Perfect, my friend. Yes. What happens to men when they're taught to perform strength instead of feel truthfully?
They become addicts, or they become violent. They
Yes.
become violent addicts, or they become shut down. Everything you see in the newspaper every morning, from political to Epstein to the church to sex scandal to violence to domestic violence to addiction, everything is the answer to your question.
Yes. Yes. What happens to the relational field when women have had to overadapt, overfunction, or self-protect for too long?
The relational field isn't established.
That's right.
Relational field requires polarity. It requires an opening and then the entering into an opening. And we make openings for each other and we enter into those openings throughout any kind of relationship. We've done this on the podcast. What it really does is it cuts off the ability to create what my teacher calls contact, but we can say is just connection. If I can't touch you energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, then there is no relationality between the two of us, whether we're having sex or meeting for the first time to do a business transaction. It doesn't matter. Without contact, there is no
Mhm.
relationality.
It's beautiful and so true. What does mature masculinity feel like in a room?
That it's grounded, it's powerful, it's safe,
Yeah.
it's calm, it has the potential to be dangerous, but it's not a danger.
Yes. I love that. Dangerous. Yeah, potentially, but not a danger. Exactly. That's so important. What does healthy feminine openness feel like when it's not performing or abandoning itself?
God,
Exquisite. When achievement stops working, what is that emptiness really asking a person to face?
their soul,
Yes. When a man begins waking up from numbness, what usually happens first?
he freaks out because he
Yes.
gets overwhelmed by the amount of feeling that he's actually exposing himself to. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. A lot of times it'll topple him. He needs to have good people around him. He needs to have support around him. It's not fair for us to ask a man who's been numbing exquisite and extraordinary amounts of pain to suddenly just, quote, feel it all at the same time with no capacity or skill to handle it.
Yes. Such beautiful advice and so necessary. And Traver, what are the most important practices for building safer, truer relationships right now?
Honest relationing or honest relating. When I have people who I can go to in my circle and say, today sucks. I'm in a really bad place today. And they don't judge me, shame me, try to fix me. They just hold space for me and listen to me. And I have that repetition after repetition after repetition of that. Then that becomes the standard I turn into my romantic relationship. So I say, hey, I have 5,000 reps of doing this with people. Now you're in my life. I'm going to do this with you. That to me creates authentic relating.
Yes.
Having the reps outside of high stakes experiences, I think is really important. So I tell men, if you can't be honest with another man, you're not going to go home and be honest with your wife. You're not going to be honest on a first date when you're kind of googly eyed and in love and want, oh my goodness, and she smells great. You got to practice on someone that, for lack of a better term, you don't want to have sex with or will not destroy, like, quote, destroy you if they say, hey, sorry, I don't want to be with you. So we need the whole village, Michelle. We need to be able to say to our friends, I'm hurting. And or like I just hit a home run today. I just had
Yes.
the greatest win of my life and not have them be like, must be nice. Have them celebrate you. Those I expect the same things from my romantic and deepest relationships as I do from my friendships, with the exception of sex.
Right.
But the same standards hold, right?
Yes. And intimacy is measured by those standards, they really, and setting those standards, and feeling like authentically we deserve those standards within ourselves and with the company that we keep.
Truly
Yeah.
across the board.
Yeah, for sure. My new friend, yeah, this is the only way that we can come home to ourselves, right? And
Mhm.
that's kind of what Heart and Light Living, our message is really coming home to you. And
Mm,
so, thank you so much for sharing time and space with us. My
my
new
pleasure.
Gen X friend, we so value you. This has just been an authentically human conversation that
Thank you
has
for
been
having me.
a beautiful human connection that honestly shows that men and women like can show up completely as who they are
Mhm.
and just be in conversation. It can be one of the most powerful God
Mhm.
goosebump producing things that we can
Mhm.
do.
Amen.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Trevor.
for having
Thank
me.
you,
I
sweet
appreciate you.
listeners, for listening. And remember, uh, what's lighting up your heart? God willing, you know exactly what that is. If you don't, come and explore with us and learn. If you do know, come and explore with us and learn. And guess what? The most enjoyable place to be is just coming home to you. Thanks for being with us today.